Glad you could join me again today. We're going to talk about your lot in life. And it comes from two places. The first is my husband. He tends to be a bit of a moaner. Murphy's Law seems to just follow him around. Whatever would go wrong for him. And when he starts to moan and complain, over the years, our oldest daughter has started to say to him, "Well, Dad, that's just your lot in life." And you know what? Usually we laugh, we move on, and he does too. It just tends to be a bit of a family joke. But your lot in life is the subject we want to talk about today. And as I began exploring this, I had to admit that I too have been guilty of moaning or complaining to God. And about sometimes like where I am or how my life has worked out or if the onlys and the whys of life, sometimes they capture my thought and they just give me a run for my money. So let's talk a bit about this. Are you guilty of that too? Moaning about your lot in life? Do you feel that life is unfair or too difficult? You don't deserve what's happened? Has it not turned out the way you thought? You know, granted, some people's lives are very difficult. No one has a rosy path, but life can be hard. Why? Well, really, we live in a broken world with broken people, so it's no wonder that things don't go together properly and cracks appear in our hearts. So we have to agree that life has its rough spots. So what are we going to do with our lot in life? Well, first let's understand that life has seasons. There's young motherhood with all the turmoil and the hard work and all these things that happen there. There's empty nest with the loneliness and the changes that happen. There's widowhood. These are all seasons. Difficult seasons, but still they have boundaries. And when you begin looking at your life, you can probably see the defines of your life's seasons. I sometimes like to look at life in decades. You know, from 1 to 10, you're just a kid. From 10 to 20, you're a teenager. And whatever happens in those 2 decades, many times set up you for the rest of your life. But they're just those seasons of life. You'll never go back to them again. From 20s to 30s, you get a career, you get married, you start a family. 30s and 40s, your kids grow up, your career develops, and you begin to mature. The 40s and 50s, the kids leave home and your career continues to develop and you finally gain some seniority. In the 50s and 60s, they say, are your most productive years, the years when you have the most wealth, and most people, if they've had children, become a grandparent. In the 60s and 70s, you begin winding things down and making final preparation for retirement. And your 70s and 80s, you might become president of the United States, or you may start living on Social Security. Now, these are not the norms, are they? Because everyone's seasons are different. And there are no hard and fast rules for seasons. And why? Because Spurgeon says that unerring wisdom ordained your lot. And that's the other place where I found this lot coming along. Unerring wisdom ordained your lot, your circumstances in life. And God is the one who ordains and designs your life. He works all things according to the purpose of His will. We've talked about that many times. And your lot has a specific purpose inside His will. So don't get hung up on thinking life has to be a certain way. God has a plan. His plan can be way different than what we think. Maybe you didn't have children until you were in your 30s. Maybe you've remained single. Maybe you found that finding a career was kind of hard and you didn't settle into anything till you're maybe in your 40s. Maybe you have boomerang kids who really never left home. Whatever your season of life might look like, they are God ordained. And we are best to see that an unerring wisdom guides our every step. Spurgeon also wrote, "Had any other condition been better for you than the one in which you are in, divine love would have put you there." If any other condition had been better for you than the one in which you are in, divine love would have put you there. You are placed by God in the most suitable circumstances. And if you had to choose your lot, you would soon cry, Spurgeon says, "Lord, choose my inheritance for me, for by my self-will I am pierced through with many sorrows." So we need to take up our cross daily. It is the burden best suited for our shoulders, and it will prove the most effective to make you perfect in every good word and work to the glory of God. That's kind of hard to accept sometimes, isn't it? Does it really make you feel any better? I know it to be truth, but there are days when I still find myself questioning, In so many ways, my life has turned out better and greater and more blessed than I could have ever imagined. And God has kept his promise to give me the desires of my heart. But it hasn't always turned out the way I imagined. When I gave my life to be a missionary, I imagined being in a third world country, helping natives, teaching children, and living rough. But God didn't place me there. He put me in England. And the natives here are my peers. The children I teach can already read and write, and I do not live rough. I'm sometimes tempted to ask God why, but it's quickly followed by thanksgiving. I know now that my physical and mental health would not have faced living in those harsh circumstances. And then I look at my ministry here. There was a time when I was fully engaged teaching children, working with the women and raising my family. But now I'm in a different season. The kids are gone. The women have now matured, and they're the ones teaching the children. And me, I find myself doing more admin and writing than teaching. This is my current season of life. And when I grow discontent, I must remind myself of these two things. This is my season with all its ups and downs, and it is my God-ordained season. So how am I doing with that? How am I doing? Am I doing what he wants me to do? Am I remaining faithful and thankful and usable in this season of life as I felt I was in the other seasons? And how oft we grow discontent and complain against our lot. We wonder why life is what it is and how we got where we are and why things happened as they did. But we're best to recognize that God's hand is in control of every season of life. We live our lives according to a God-ordained purpose. Even through the hard and hurtful times, he never abandons us, and he always leaves us fuller in faith, better prepared, wiser, more thankful. Every step increases us, and these seasons of life are there for God to prove himself to be enough. Is that what you're finding? That's what I'm finding. So enough. Enough with complaining and wondering. Ours is not to question, but to yield with thankful hearts to a loving Father who works all things according to the purpose of his will for our benefit. Better for us to enjoy the season, fill it with his love and our love for others and for him, and live within our appointed lot in life with thanksgiving. I'll see you next week.